Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball.
Game7baseball.com.
And a lovely .com it is. We appreciate Dave and what they do in youth baseball. I think this is the last weekend of Game 7 Baseball. I think it's their last tournament weekend. So we're bidding them a fond farewell for the season, and hope it ends. It finishes up well, and everything goes. And we're going to see them again. We'll have Dave on the show back here in first week in November, talking some Game 7 baseball. So also, when we were down at Ballparks of America, I finally got it up here. Scott Bales, we got the Ballparks of America helmet. I love that thing, man. That's killer, isn't it? I know you can't hardly see. The tough thing is it's a little more difficult to see the logo, but that's Ballparks of America. Appreciate Scott Bales there. That was fun. We're going to hopefully get him on the show here, not too much distant future. I kind of want to let fall play out a little bit for some of these guys. I think it's just easier scheduling wise. So, you know what I mean? It just is.
I do. Yeah.
So,
fall baseball is about to wrap up, so you're going to need content here in a couple weeks.
Exactly. And MLB playoffs, full swing. The NLCS starts tonight. I think the ALCS starts tonight too, doesn't it? Or is that tomorrow night?
Nope. That's tomorrow, because the Yankees and Guardians were that's so hard for me to say still. The Guardians, the Indians.
Cleveland Indians.
They still have to play, and it's the first time. It's not the first time. It's been since I think 1981. It's the first time that they've had overlapping playoffs, and I think it's happened 3 times total. I thought I saw the stat that said 1954, 1981, and then now this year in 2022, because of some rain issues that they've had up there in that upper northeast area. So it's the Yankees and Guardians tonight, and then the NLCS is the Phillies and the Padres.
Yeah.
Which is probably not expected for a lot of people.
No. And, I grew up Dodgers, and I watched the Cardinals, and I liked the Cardinals, and I was surprised at how they went out. But I think the Cardinals and the Dodgers are very similar in their thought process and how they play the game. You can see it. And the analytics were the overriding construct of how they manage a game and how they do. And to me, when I saw the Dodgers in this series against the Padres, the bottom of their lineup was just horrible. And the difference was the bottom of the lineup for the Padres was really good. I mean, that was to me, that was the difference in the series. The superstars showed up, Freddie Freeman, Mookie, Turner, they were all good. Even Will Smith, for the Dodgers, Manny,
Soto.
There it is.
Soto struggled I thought Soto struggled in my opinion.
I felt like he was starting to hit. He started hitting the ball against the Dodgers.
Yeah, he barely. I mean, obviously, when you're a threat when your name is Juan Soto. But I thought I really to go back to the Padres there. I thought what the series was is they didn't take Trent Grisham serious. And I feel like he was the guy, and Juraxim Profar. Those are the two guys that really got him, because they switched Profar with Kim to put him at the top of the lineup, and then you had Cronenworth. I think it was something like Cronenworth and Grisham and Profar at the bottom of that, and they really could not get those guys out. They did not let Manny or Juan Soto beat them. That, in my opinion, I mean, Manny played tremendous defense. But those two guys did not beat the Dodgers. Like you said, that bottom half, Trent Grisham, Cronenworth, Profar, those are the guys that I felt like was a problem. Austin Nola, their catcher. Yeah. I mean, had some big hits late in games, and the Dodgers were trying to play a merry-go-round down there. One day it's Taylor, and another day it's Thompson.
Yeah, it was just kind of, I think it was ugly the way, and to me that was the difference in the series, because they could not produce runs in the bottom of the lineup, whereas the Padres did. It was a close series. You can, people say, oh, those were excellent games. That 2-1
ball. Electric.
Yeah, that 2-1 ball game was a really good baseball game. The one that was at Dodger Stadium, the defensive plays. And as you said, I thought Manny was out of his mind. Oh, my gosh. Don't hit the ball to Manny.
Yeah. I will say this much, and I'm sure that any Cardinals fans are listening are probably going to obviously disagree with me, because the MVP is not based on playoff stats, but what Manny did through that round of the playoffs, I was like, give that man the MVP, because what he did, he also saved a lot of opportunities for the Dodgers to score runs. I really liked that series. It was a fun series. I didn't expect the Mets and Braves. Braves and Phillies. I didn't expect that series to happen like that. I mean, Charlie Morton getting lit up, Strider getting lit up. There was some bad decisions made on that side too, with guys coming back from injuries and, pitching a rookie in a must-win situation instead of a guy like Charlie Morton. So. Very interesting playoffs so far. The NLCS was not expected for me. I expected the two big teams to make it. You see that Houston's moved on. This will be really interesting tonight to see if Cleveland
from the playoffs forever.
Well, to each their own.
That was a little much. I just don't like it. I mean, you're talking about holding these guys. I'm going to go to this. You're talking about these guys can't get in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds are putting asterisks next to stuff and whatnot. These guys cheated out loud, have admitted it to a great degree. Musgrove comes out here. He says, I want to win one that isn't, tainted.
Yeah. You mean with his fire engine red ears?
I mean, honestly, and people go, oh, it's okay. They kept their rings. Well, then let Barry in. What does it matter?
Let Reggie Bush have his Heisman back.
Right? I mean, if we're talking, I mean, see, to me, it just, this one just is such nonsense how they treated that. I just don't buy it. I'm not sitting here making these guys out to be they're just horrible people. They did something. They took it to an extreme, and I always hate the fact that everybody always says, well, everybody's cheating. No, they're not. Not everybody's cheating. And stealing signs has always been a part of the game. That's fine. But there are limits to those things and how you do certain things that go beyond the scope of somebody looking in and catching a sign and going, oh, I got that. I got you, from second base and things like that. And people go, well, that's cheating. No, that's gamesmanship. That's a different thought process, and that's been going on for a long time, and nobody considers that cheating. That's just, I was able to get a sign, and we got that. No, you're flaming got technology and binoculars and beating on cans, and come on, man. It's a little much.
I was talking to an 18-year-old last night. He's going to play Division II baseball up at William Jewell, and we got to talking about pitch recognition and some stuff like that. And he goes, man, listen, I look for tips that pitchers give me to give me an advantage to guess right. And he goes, if there could be something in the way they hold their glove, whether they hold their wrist behind it or, their wrist turned. And he looks for tells on, like, if a guy's arm slot gets higher or lower because they might be trying to throw something. That's information that you can find. That's information after a couple of bats that you can find. That, to me, that's taking advantage of what you're given, the information you're given, because that's what analytics are, right? Is information.
Right.
So we could call it information. So if you scout and and you're doing these things and you can pick up tells, I'm okay with that kind of stuff. Like that's something the pitcher has to fix. That's been a thing since I played. It's probably a thing since you played. It's probably been a thing since Babe Ruth played. So don't give us that information. But you don't need somebody, like you said, standing in the signs, putting a little thing on somebody's chest, giving it a little, vibration, saying, "Hey, here comes a heater. Let me get on that heater time." Or smashing good sliders, out of the park. So, what they did is definitely a black eye on the sport. I think personally, and I'm going a little bit off topic here with that, is I don't like what they're doing now with betting in baseball and betting in sports in general with things like DraftKings and FanDuel. I think I like it. I'm a part of it. I like to do it. But it's Pete Rose. If you're going to allow all of this to happen, give Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it. And especially before that man passes away. And I want to see Pete Rose in there. I want to see Mark McGwire in there. I want to see Barry Bonds in there. I'm over the what people think some of this is. Steroids help the guys recover. Longevity. I don't know how much further they hit the baseball. I'm assuming they got bigger, faster, and stronger. I'm assuming it helped. They weren't hitting wall scrapers to begin with. They were hitting big time flies. I trust me, when I'm trying to have a conversation with kids and I want them to be as honest and fair to this game and respect it, that is an entertainment that we're chasing. As parents, we have to do a good job of saying what's right or wrong.
Yep.
Barry Bonds, if he's your idol, you have to say that, hey, he took steroids, or if he did, I guess it's still, I don't know if it's actually proven, but we know. That's a guy that says, hey, this is what he did to get to this level. We want you to do it this way. That's my job as a parent, to teach my kid that. It's not me to say, hey, Barry Bonds is this of a human being. Let his character determine who he was as a human being. He made some choices that, people don't like, but he still hit that many home runs, and he still hit, Mark McGwire still did that. And I let those guys in. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And they can comment below.
Comment below, right? Lauren, did you put the comment below thingy? Just letting her know. Put the comment below. Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic and a conversation, because you have to, I say let Barry in. People go, how can you say that he cheated? And well, you just did this with this. Look, however extended or grandiose his stats got, probably because of the steroids, much of Major League Baseball, and we can sit here and debate that, much of Major League Baseball at the time was doing steroids, whether you believe Jose Canseco or not. I mean, just because he's a schmuck doesn't make him a liar. But he could be, but I don't think so. I think it was pretty rampant. I think it was pretty, just as all things are at times, there's always a percentage of people that will do what it takes to get to that other level. And if everybody's doing it, should I try? Should I do this? And the temptations become very difficult. And I'm sure there are guys that said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to. There's always those impacts. Will we ever know the full scope of steroids in baseball? I don't ever think we will. But to say Barry Bonds might not have been, if he was on track, I mean, when he was in Pittsburgh, Barry Bonds, he was electric. You can't say he wasn't good, because he was an elite baseball player. He was. And then to go to where he went to, what you can say this or that. This guy was, I remember watching Barry Bonds when he was with Pittsburgh, and he was just flat out good. That was a great Pittsburgh Pirates team. So
yep. He was. And it's always funny. My argument's always going to be the same. What about the guys that took steroids that never were any good? we don't talk about those guys. We only talk about the guys that we feel like took them, like the Brady Andersons of the world, the Ken Caminittis, the guys that went from hitting 15 homers to 80. Not really. But these guys went from hitting 20 something to 50 something. And, you look at guys like John Wetland and Kyle Farnsworth that all of a sudden one day just came out ripped, and there was pitchers taking them. There's pitchers recovering from injuries, trying to take them, and we didn't talk about those because they didn't really have that large of an impact on the game, like a guy like Barry Bonds or Mark McGwire. And when baseball turned their back on those guys after the lockout and everything, baseball knew what was going on. They had to know. They turned their back on them. I would be more upset with Major League Baseball than I would be, in my opinion, than those guys because of how they turned their back on them.
Well, I think that's the fair question and the fair thought process, in my opinion. I think the culpability is on both sides. Major League Baseball is like, oh, they're trying to play the righteous card, and you're not, because you needed that to bring the sport back. So you're as culpable understanding what was going on. And I think, to me, that becomes the most difficult thought process here. And so I think there's a lot of questions there and whatnot. It's tough, and it's interesting conversation. And it leads us to our next point here, something we want to discuss. And I think as we're working towards the end of the season here and whatnot, you got a whole new group of kids coming up, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, coaching youth baseball. And, what does that take? What is that like? And here's decisions. And as you said, when we're coaching youth sports and we've seen what happens on the ball diamond, we've seen the weekends get shattered by coaches losing their minds, parents losing their minds, over a call in a 9U baseball tournament pool game. And it's like the kids will be scarred forever if they don't, if that call isn't reversed or something. And I look at this and I think, so how do we bring these things to bear? How do we talk about this stuff? How do we prepare ourselves? Because not everybody is the same. Not everybody will approach things the same way. But how do we, as a culture in youth baseball, we talked about this last week, if I'm not mistaken, about why are we tagging these teams with A, AA, AAA major from 7 to 10U, 11U. And I think this goes hand in hand with this. If we will take the time just to, and there's plenty of clubs out there that have the opportunities for coaches to go get help, resources, learning. If you're a dad coach and you want to help and be part of something, how are you watching one of the professionals there? Guys that have been coaching, that have played college ball, that have been part of that are coaching teams. How are you exercising information out of that process? And what are clubs doing to help these dad coaches be better? And I don't think you can monitor. I don't think that, I want to make clubs responsible or say, if he's got to go. No, that's not what I'm saying. But how can we help the culture and help these guys understand what it means to coach youth sports?
Yeah, and on the club side of things, obviously, I'm a much smaller club, so I do have the ability to kind of work with the groups a little bit differently. I have a lot of trust in my group because I can have that personal relationship, and so looking on the outside of this, though, even guys that are so-called professionals of this, guys that get paid to coach maybe or whatever. I'm not sure that they should be coaching. What I've experienced in the last year of being back in baseball and what I've experienced in coaching youth softball, there's a lot of teams with a lot of people that don't have a lot of knowledge. Mm-hmm. They want to identify that they have a lot of knowledge because they watch TV or they watch the internet. They're watching YouTube, and I'm not saying you can't learn from those things. I do. I watch TV. I will go to YouTube. I will follow certain instructors to try to get tips and hints on how to work with a certain age group, et cetera, because I want to be better. The side that I feel that's missed is the IQ side of things. And how are we helping these kids develop better? To me, that's what the focus on coaching youth sports should be, because now when I'm coaching a high school team, I have completely changed my development for my group. I am no longer this I handle things very differently now, and I push a little differently because I'm in an older age group that can understand differently. So you need to identify what you have, the athletes that you have, coach the athletes that you have, not what you think they should be. And it goes back to, like you said earlier, the labeling of these kids. Identify what we are. If we are a single A team, then let's coach them with a particular set of kid gloves or whatever you want to call it, to be able to get them to the next step. And once you get them confident in that step, let's get them confident in the next. And I feel that we do a bad job of that as a whole coaching staff around this area. Is we expect a 9-year-old kid, little Jimmy, to get the same thing as little Tommy. And they're two different athletes. It's not going to happen. And so that's what I would like to see is building, having coaches clinics, having like like a Maryville. I'm just using Maryville for an example. Having a coaches clinic and experience what it's like in college, and then maybe having Coach Perkins and some of these GAC guys come in and say this is what it's like at the high school level, and then you might find that these coaches are doing it wrong. They have the wrong expectations for these young people. And so I know I'm kind of going left and right here, but
I want to go back to that one point real quick. And this is what I think this ties into it, and why I like this conversation in this respect is because, as you said, if we identify, well, I don't think we can identify these kids at 7 and 8 years old to be an A, double A, whatnot. Are there kids that maybe show a little more athleticism than others? But none of them really know the game of baseball. You can't say that. And that's my point with the tagging of an A, double A, triple A major. That kid has some natural ability, natural talented athleticism that you just see. And you can say what you want to, that happens. But that's in a small percentage, and you can see that. So then you can start from there. But teaching the game of baseball and allowing the kids, and as you said, IQ, what does that determine? And can you express, can you teach through the language of the game and teach and showing kids and breaking things down at that level, even at that age? You'd be surprised how much kids can absorb at that age if you can get their attention. One thing is do you bring them in? And I think that's up to the coach in that respect, is how well do you communicate? How well can you communicate to a 7-year-old? It's not an easy thing. And how do you make it fun? How do you make it fun?
My question's always going to be,
right?
Yeah, my question will always be this, though, and this may be because of my own ego. I take it for what it's worth. Does the coach know the information on the why?
Well, so
can they express that information to a 7, 8, 9-year-old? And that's where I feel, again, there's a struggle of IQ things. Do our coaches know that information on the whys? And I struggle with this a lot on the field. I know it's unfair to judge, but I do it.
Well, but and to your point there, and I don't know, as far as your club and whatnot, and I don't know every club. I know a couple of them that do certain things in this fashion. I believe the Gators do things in this way. I know PBA has got some things that do these things this way. They take these young coaches and bring them into coaches meetings. They talk them through situations. They help them. you got diagrams, because there's some of these guys, they may have been athletes, but were they baseball players? And then you have some coaches some dads that played at a collegiate level or high school level at least, and are able to bring some a form of information, what it is. But I mean, how high do you have to bring it? And as we're developing players, I think it's essential that as we look at this youth part of it, can we take that 7-year-old to that 11-year-old and not be so concerned about whether we're double or triple A, and let the kids figure that out. Teach them the game. Let the process work through it, and you'll see what kids are and are not at those levels. And you might even find it easier to create some teams and put some things in place and compete, because we're saying that at this age level, we're supposed to be developing these kids for high school baseball. Forget about college. Don't even consider college at 7 years old. Yeah, I want to go to no, he doesn't. He wants to go get some ice cream. So let's focus on that. And as you're getting to that 10, 11, do you know what your high school coach is? Do you know what those things are? Have you stopped by? As if you're a youth coach and you're looking at these things, have you stopped by and watched a high school practice, how they develop those kids, how they're working with the kids, and implementing some of these things and understanding that that's the process we're going to. And when you get in the tournament, coach to win. I have no problem with those things. And let the talent dictate whether the kids, how much success the kids have. And then you can talk to them about competing. You can teach them how to compete, what competition really means, because then you have to put them in, and you're putting them in the level that they fit within to compete at a level that gives them an opportunity to come out on top. I think if we take these mindsets into these youth ages, I think we will have a lot better situation moving forward.
Build your culture. If I can give any advice, build your culture that you want as a coach to your own individual team, even if you're part of an organization that has its own culture. Continue to build off of what you want and desire as a group. I am a firm believer of the why. I didn't used to be this way when I first started coaching. I was always just do what you're told kind of player. And when the coach told me to do something, I did it. Now kids want to know the whys. And so if I pull a kid in a certain situation, I make sure I go to and address that athlete, because what I don't want is that kid to lose confidence. And it's very easy to lose confidence these days. We're not as mentally tough, and at least that's how I feel. And I feel it's important to go back over there and have that conversation so that kid knows that they can trust you on why you made the decisions. Because there'll be a time down the road, well, you're gonna trust that kid and leave them in that spot because they've worked to get back into that trust in a certain situation. So talk to your kids, tell them why you make decisions. This past weekend, I had made some moves that I felt hurt the team. I told the team after the game, I said, those decisions are me. I changed the dynamics of the game by making some substitutions, and it frustrated some of the guys and changed some of the flow of the game. I felt like that was a big part of the change in the game. So don't be afraid to also be a little humble. And when something doesn't go your way and it is your fault, even though you still believe that players should play, our job as coaches is not to lose games, right? We can't win the games, but that's our job not to lose games. So at least, that's how I feel. So I really believe in giving the kids the why right now and in the moment. And sometimes that may be overcoaching, but if you have a kid that is trying to develop, you can't wait till after the game to have a conversation that happened in the first inning about a play that they made or a route that they made or something they could have done different. I like to address it right then and there so that if they get that ground ball or fly ball later in the game, they know what to do. and it's fresh in the mind. It could be wrong because if they've made the mistake, they don't want to be told how to do something different. But I give them about 10 seconds to recover, and then I give them the information. Say, hey, try this next time. So instead of saying you should have done this, I try to use things like, hey, if you get a chance to do this again, what would you do? That's very different.
That to me is the great way to do it. Yeah.
Those are conversations I learned what not to do in the car rides home from my first kid to my second kid playing sports. Because I would always tell my first kid they did something wrong, and instead of asking them what they think they could have done differently. It's amazing on how you choose your words, on how much the conversation can change, or the confidence can change in that kid. So don't be afraid of saying the why.
The other part of this too is I know we always get the idea of the parents being problems, and you have the crazy parent and this and that. Well, as a coach, you're always going to have to deal with parents because the parents are paying to play in these clubs. That's just the short and tall of it. We all know this. So I think they feel like they're allowed a certain amount of information in this respect. Whether we like that thought process or not, the person is looking for value for what they've spent. And that becomes a situation where you have to deal with it. If you don't want to deal with that, don't coach. Because I think at the youth levels, and I've heard this, I've done it, I don't think it's, I've changed my mind to some of this, and I changed my mind early on to it. Because at the beginning, you're like, no, let your kid come to me. And you got an 8-year-old going, I don't know what to say to coach. An 8-year-old doesn't know how to approach a grown man that way and say, hey, coach, you need to play me more. Why ain't I playing?
You have it at 16 years old because of, I'm an intimidating figure to people. So people just don't want to come right up to me. And when I say I'm intimidated, I'm fair. And I give you what I feel is the reasons why you may be failing at something or not succeeding at something. I will give you the information you need to know. And it's not always likable information.
It's not always candy.
And so, not always. It's not in ice cream. It's not any chocolate. Sometimes it is very tough info. But as they get over it, they have learned. And hey, that's 8 years old, 16 years old. It's still tough to go to your coach and look them in the eye and say, why aren't you playing me? What do I got to do to get better? Because it's hard information. And once you can build the culture and there's still trust, you can have that conversation without repercussions with that athlete. Then they come to you, or with a parent.
I just figured it out. I think that's the way we're going to label it now. There's chocolate information, and then there's Brussels sprouts information.
Wait a minute. Can we go let's not use Brussels sprouts because
they're bitter.
I don't like Brussels sprouts as a kid, but I tell you what, roasted Brussels sprouts are delicious. I cannot eat them out of a boiled
spinach
pot. But
how about spinach?
It's good in a salad.
You're killing me, dude.
No, like broccoli.
I like broccoli though. Broccoli.
See, this ain't gonna work.
No, it ain't gonna work, is it?
Black licorice. Nobody likes black licorice. I knew something was wrong with you.
I love black licorice, man. That's unbelievable.
Candy corn?
Good and plenty. Candy corn?
Candy corn?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're going.
Yeah.
Beets.
Good stuff. Beets. There it is. We found it. Or peas. Do you like peas?
I do, and mashed potatoes.
Okay. So we'll stick with beets.
Beets.
Okay. We found
That's
it.
Gross.
So there's chocolate information and beets information. How do you choose
or we can
to?
just go with dirt. I don't think many people eat dirt, do they?
No. But in the end of it, and this is what I'm saying, how are we, and I think this is the conversations, and I'm hoping that we are able to say this and do things, and I want to, as we move along, I'm hoping to get into and talk to some of the clubs a little bit more as we've go into the off season, bring up these subjects, how they're dealing with it. Love to get inside that, with all the clubs around, how they're approaching some of these things and their thoughts on these structures, because I think it's very interesting as we move forward in the conversation. Can we make an impact? Can we do this? Can we help some of this early stuff just be a little bit more fun rather than so rigorous and putting these kids into this place where they feel like they're going to college from 9U baseball, and we're skipping so much. And I think it's a push rather than just letting them focus in on learning the game, understanding the game, coaching the game, having the fun, enjoying the travel. I think it's fun. The tournament baseball, great, fantastic. Go and enjoy it. If you win, fantastic. If you get cut out early, hey, we're going swimming. It's still summertime. It's still those things. And then when you come back to practice, hey, you have coach going, okay, guys, what are the things we need to work on to get better and continue to grow and put ourselves in a better position to have success? And I think this is the language I would love to see more and more and more. And I think it's there. I think there's a lot of people that do that. I just think we still have these tags and these things in place that create some of these factors that don't allow it to continue to really grow in that way. And the one thing is within the coaching staff, they're going, well, I've got a AAA team. Well, you just started that team at 9U. You have no clue. I don't care what well, these guys are really good. You don't know. You haven't even played a game. You don't know.
Yeah, but this fall just ended, and there's a lot of change already happening for some teams because they're not labeled as a certain something. And the player, was a good player at the level that they were playing at, but wanted more. And now that they got more and they've experienced the more, now they're on the back end of that roster. So it's a very different. It's not always green, right? The grass is not always green on the other side. If you have a coach that's worth it, stick with that guy. And there's something you said in that early on, and that just your last comment there was about the impact. And as an organization owner, I want to impact my coaches because those coaches are impacting kids. And so the whole trickle down effect, you have to have that. And something that happened this past weekend, my 9U team, it's a brand new team to us. They are a recreational plus team. That's what I'm giving them. They're not quite I guess that's what, if you will. They play in a recreational league, and they're going to play into some lower end tournaments. They came out to watch us play this weekend, the older kids, and they were tuned into the game because that coach wanted them to learn something. Now, you couldn't keep a 9-year-old in tune for the whole game, but they did. And the result of that was a bunch of 9-year-old kids having fun. And they loved watching it. They loved cheering on the guys. They start to build a little bit of excitement and rooting for one of the older teammates. And so now you're starting to build that big brother feel. And now there's an impact. So when they meet these kids at the hitting zone after a workout, they get to say hi and look up to them and then watch them. And that's how, again, you're impacting kids, and then they're building that IQ by watching. So I think it is a trickle down effect from the top to your new coaches, your youth coaches, and creating that impact. I think is huge to be able to say to your 9U coach, hey, this is an awesome thing. Whatever that thing may be, but he approached me with that, and I loved it. And it created fun, and those kids had a blast. And so that's what I've learned from this past weekend is the more fun that they have, the better that they will do.
And to your point, and I know this for a fact just in this one scenario, because in 2020, we were doing our winter workout tour, and we were at the Sports Barn with GBA. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I'm sure there are other clubs that do it, this is just top of mind. And when you're talking about this, I recall this because I'm watching their winter workout. They've got high school players that play in GBA in there working with the kids as instructors, as talking to them and learning. And the thing that I thought was really great, I was watching this one young man, he was working with the kids on bunting. And he wasn't just tossing the balls, okay, next. He really took the time to talk to the kids about bunting. He would go up there and show them, and he'd go, no, okay, hang on just a second. He'd come up and he goes, look, turn your body, and he would work, and he worked with the kids. And I thought that was really, the high school kids were bought into this. These kids are looking up. They know they're a player. They know they're with GBA. It's not coach in that respect. These are other players, but that peer representation. And I thought that's cultural in that respect and how you build that. And then these kids growing up in those things. And I think that was interesting to me. And I thought that was really a cool thing about that. And I was watching it throughout because you only have so many instructors and guys that can do and you want to perform at high. So I think it was really an interesting look at how they're building their program in that respect. So, and I'm sure there are probably other guys that do that. I don't know. I'm going to go look at this point because it just popped in my head and as we're talking about these things. But I think there's a lot of opportunities in that respect. And if we would, I just believe, focus our energy on allowing the kids to develop into what they're going to be, we would see a higher level of baseball rather than trying to fit them into that. The success not having been there, the kids getting down, they're playing AAA every weekend and gone one for, they're 1-30. And they don't belong there. And I think this happens a lot.
Yeah, then you're going to talk about the parents being 1-30, so they're going to leave. And that's the result of everything. Is we're not sticking to a process and to a plan. So I love what the having those younger kids, high school age groups work with the younger kids, because I also believe in some those older kids become not idols, but they're idolized, I guess, in a sense.
Well, you can look up to a player. You can say, hey,
look up to that. I use that word.
Yeah.
Looking up to them. And then you become like I want to be like that kid. And so I can remember growing up wanting to be like Michael Jordan. No, I couldn't fly. No, I couldn't even do the splits like that in the air. But Michael Jordan was a monster mentality, So wanted to be a Jeff Bagwell one year, wanted to be a Mark McGuire the next year, wanted to be, a Julio Franco the next year. And so I always loved having something to look forward to because it also just made me work, because if I wanted to be like that person, I had to kind of swing and train like that person. Right. So I love that part of it. And I think that is part of coaching youth baseball. Having
Absolutely.
The experience of seeing somebody that's a little bit older going through that process, and maybe they can have a conversation off on the back wall, picking up baseballs and saying, what do you like about baseball? And is it kicking dandelions? Is it, a little deeper for some guys than it is as just hanging out with friends? And it's crazy how much conversation can lead to having a love and a passion for a game that lasts for a long time versus just a few years, because we're being pushed into a direction that kid shouldn't be in, like you said, with the classification side of things.
There you go. I think that's a huge part of those types of situations. And if we can focus a little bit of things in this respect and have this conversation, let's see what we can do. And I'm not saying it needs to, I'm not saying, we should do that. I'm just looking at things as we've projected them. I look at the weekends and I look at the stuff and I look at the opportunities that some of these kids have. I just think we can look toward the future a little bit more in these respects. And I think competition, breed a little competition. And the reason I'm even saying this, and I'll finish this, and I want to go because Mitch has got a hat to reveal here. We're going to get to that. when these kids are coming up into high school, and especially in the bigger schools, are they prepared to compete for a position? Are they mentally prepared that they have to go in and compete for a place to play on the team? And I think it's difficult sometimes for the coaches. They're not trying to hurt kids' feelings. They're not. And I think if you talk to any high school coach, and I've talked to a lot of them, it's the worst day. Cut day is the worst day.
It's the worst in youth sports. You're not. It's bad, and nobody. I mean, how many kids have you seen at 10 years old come to a tryout and just have these baby blue eyes staring up at you like they don't want to get cut, and you know that kid's not gonna make that team. You know, it's not a good day for anybody when you have to make cuts. That's the reason why people do it through the web than they do it anywhere else. And I hate that time of the year. And I know hate's a strong word, but it is very emotional because you are breaking hearts. And that is not what you want to do as an influencer. You do not want to break hearts.
And so it becomes a difficult process. So, but if you can look at a kid and say, you've done all you can, if you want to be on the team, you're there, but understand this is your role. This is what you're doing. Coaches deal with those things. And having a strong mentality in those types of situations, I think, is some opportunity. So that's what we got. We're going to continue this conversation. Like I said, we're hoping to get some, we're going to work towards getting coaches and other from other organizations talk about this subject. I think it'll be a great conversation as we roll into the off season. So that's a drum roll for Mitch.
Drum roll. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Reveal it, bro.
Are you ready? Reveal it. So obviously, if you've watched the show before, you know I love hats, and I've been chasing this hat. So if you would call it a grail, the holy grail of hats for me is I've been chasing this hat for a while now, and I was able to get this hat. They just re-released this hat, so I was excited to be able to get a part of it. It is Blues season. Cardinals baseball is over, but it's Blues are in, and I was able to find this. Blues crossover. It has got that old like 90s colored uniforms with the red and the blue and the yellow. Yeah. It's got a pretty slick All-Star game patch, which I think is one of the coolest All-Star games. It is an exclusive to I guess this is a plug for Pro Images. Sorry, Brian, but I was able to get it from Pro Images. At Mid Rivers Mall. I'm sure Pro Images is all right with it. But I love it. It's got the red cap, the yellow eyelets, and the Batterman on the back. Hopefully you can see that has all three of those colors as well. And then the yellow bill underneath. This hat to me has been one I've been chasing for a long, long time. I got shoes to match. I got a Blues jersey to match. I absolutely love this hat. And they actually had a 3-pack come out, which had some of the other uniforms. But I wanted to share that because I was so excited about getting it. And I don't know how detailed you can see that on there, but can you see the red outline on the Cardinals?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's killer.
And the yellow, it's such a beautiful logo, and I think the Cardinals have one of the slickest logos out there with traditional wise. Yankees, Dodgers, they do as well. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because I think it's a pretty BA hat. So kids are watching; they know what it means, but kids are watching.
That's right. It's cool.
It is a cool hat, and it is a 7.5/8 because it's a big head.
Well, it
does.
I
will wear it.
Will you really? You won't just put that one up in the closet.
No, sir. It is a hat I've been chasing a long time.
Okay, so
I know it seems crazy.
I gotta ask though, will you wear that if you're gonna be sweating and doing like that? Or is it
I will only wear that in hockey season.
Okay.
It's 38 degrees outside, so if I sweat in 38 degrees, I probably need to go to the gym and lose some lbs. I should not be sweating at 38 degrees in a typical coach's outfit, which is shorts and a hoodie and maybe some Crocs. I don't know.
Guys, leave your comments below. We hope you enjoyed the show. Tell us what you think of Mitch's hat. If you got a hat yourself and you want to show us what you got, please put it down below. Show us what you got. Let's see it. We want to know. Get involved.
Give me one of your grails.
There you go. There you go. Let's see one of your, I love that. One of your grails. There you go. Let's do that. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button and then hit that dinger, because that's what we do around here, right?
We hit dingers.
Dingers. And that will get you all your notifications so you can see more of Mitch's grails that he's hunting for. And
I will share. I will be happy to share those with everybody. You comment a hat, I'll comment a hat.
There you go.
And we keep this going. You got to have about 180 hats. I got a lot of hats, so I can have a lot of comments.
Now I've got a basketball hat that I'll bring in. I'll bring next week and show you. That is as unique and as you will ever see. I'll try to remember that. And it's cool. I'll leave it at that.
Hey, let's reveal it. I'm in. Let's go.
So, but it's
probably a Globetrotter hat.
We'll show you.
We'll bring it in.
I'll do that. I got to bring that in. So, everybody, till next time, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters,
hit it fair. Hit them where they ain't.
Keep it fair, bro. Keep it fair. I love it. We'll see y'all next time.